I request Abhijata to light the lamp. We'll all chant the prayers together. Let's begin the invocation together. योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारम् शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिं गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः हरिः ओम्. Good evening all. It's a very special occasion, as you all know, a special year ahead. We are entering the 50th year of the Institute, and we are going to be celebrating this today and tomorrow. Like you all know. So yesterday, we were all here last evening practicing for the annual day, and both my children were also here. They were practicing at the hall, and I was sitting here thinking, in the past 50 years, each of us had our own journey and a very deep association with this institute. One may begin the journey in the children's class, or general class and end up being a teacher, or introduce their children to their system and they end up being teachers. One may begin as a student, end up being an assessor. One may start as an administrative in charge in the office, and sooner or later, the rest of their family members join in. And all of this is happening not just in India, but in more than 70 countries across the world. Can you imagine? Despite the different backgrounds, the cycle of life within Iyengar community continues. And we are very, very thankful to Guruji, our dear Guruji, about this. One gets to witness a symbiotic relationship. I'm reminded of the Ashwatha tree, the peepal tree, a tree with a special significance because its roots grow upward and the branches grow downward, just the way our heads become the very base in our inverted poses. In our ancient scriptures, the different parts of the people tree, its trunk, branches, leaves, has a lot of significance. It's called the tree of life. It is a means of livelihood for so many creatures. And this Ashwatha tree symbolically is referred to as the Samsara Vriksha. It has enormous spread of its roots and branches, and at the same time, enormous grounding. It is revered as a holy tree and considered imperishable. It's a symbol of longevity, wisdom, and protection. And you get all these three feelings here at the Institute. I hope you all agree. I welcome Srinit to just share on the sessions that he took of Yoga Sutras last year. Welcome, Srinit.
This is about the Yoga Sutra sessions. So just to share a quick update. So normally when we begin as beginners in our journey of yoga, there comes a point where we feel, okay, we need to go deeper. Okay, we need a deeper foundation, a more solid foundation. And that is when actually the practice begins to mature. Now to be able to go deeper, the ultimate guide is the Shastra. Okay? Krishna himself says, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te. So the final signboard for truth is in the Shastra. Among the texts of Yoga Shastra, one of the most important ones is the Yoga Sutra. The Yoga Sutra is that text which establishes yoga as a complete philosophical system, a Darshana Shastra. It was, of course, composed by Patanjali himself. And then we have a bhashya, a commentary, by none other than Vyasa. Okay? So it is a very exalted text. And in some sense, we actually have those same original words that have come through generations to us. Now, there are many sort of books and translations of the Yoga Sutras available, but often there is a bit of a confusion. There is a lack of clarity. Sometimes some points are not conveyed accurately or not understood accurately, and so on. So what we had was we started a series of sessions, me and my uncle Prashant, going through each sutra, sutra by sutra, and the bhashya for each and every sutra, connecting that with Guruji's teachings, with different mantras from the Upanishads and from the Gita and so on. So the format is an audio format because you have now the recordings available. And the format itself is special in the sense that traditionally, learning through hearing is considered much more superior and effective than learning through reading and writing. Okay? So we have this audio format that's available. As people sort of learning yoga at different stages, you can either go through it from beginning to end, or you can use it as a reference text to any particular sutra or any particular chapter or pada, jump to that session and listen to it. So there are two ways. I mean, it is said that bahudha shrotavyam, bahubhya shrotavyam. So you have to learn in several ways, and you have to learn from several sources. So that's sort of the ancient guide to wisdom. So even as you read other texts, say the Bhagavad Gita and other books by Guruji and so on, you can come back here, and every time you come back, there's a different facet of understanding that you begin to get. Okay? Now this began in Guruji's birth centenary year, so 2018, and it has been continuing for the last 5 years, over 5 years. It began as live sessions on Sundays until the corona pandemic hit, and then it's been recordings that have been uploaded. All the recordings are available on YouTube in the Iyengar Yoga official channel. It's normally said, again, there's an old saying that says, Shreyansi Bahu Vignani. When you try to do something good, several obstacles will arise, right, and try to stop you. So I'm particularly happy and grateful that we have been able to complete all the 4 chapters, all the sutras, all the recordings are now available on the YouTube channel. So this is just to sort of announce that and inform you about it, with the hope that, okay, this will be a gateway for you to start exploring the Shastras and the eternal wisdom that they contain. Okay? That's it. Thank you.
Well, the Yoga Sutras are roots of all modes of yoga. So it's a root text for yoga. And it is highly creditable that we could complete it in these little over 5 years. Completing the whole text is not a joke. 195 sutras, which are encapsulating the enormous purport of all dimensions of philosophy, metaphysics, spirituality, are there in Yoga Sutras. So, as an institute, it's a landmark, because institute is not just about conducting classes, serving people, catering their needs, health needs, pathies. That's not the institute for. Institute is meant for study of the subject of yoga. So I want you to take clue from here that at least 1% or 0.01% students should be pursuing the subject as a philosophical system or science or culture, ethos, purely for the sake of subject. So it's not expected that 2,000 students of the institute should be learning it, but institute must be providing facility. So we have tried to provide whatever facilities with a library, which is very rich as far as the literature is concerned, yogic literature and allied literature. So I want at least 0.1% students, 1 out of 1,000, should be students of yoga, rather than our time culture of becoming teachers of yoga. Institute will not be, the legacy perpetuated. It won't be perpetuated unless we are students of yoga in the institute. Institute is meant to turn out students of yoga and not cater the needs of people. That's a cash crop. That has to be done to sustain the institute. But merely sustaining the institute should not be our purpose. It's an institution, yoga institute. So we will have to carry study of yoga. And again I repeat, maybe 1 in 1,000, if not 10, 80%, 90%, that's not expected. This is a yoga institute, not yoga gym or yoga clinic. Otherwise, people come here for the sake of health and do some health exercises, or they have some maladies, they want remedies for maladies. That's all part of yoga, and that's a cash crop. Our institute will not thrive without that. But we must go to the root of yoga because it is an institute. So on this 50th celebration, Golden Jubilee year, I just want to stimulate you, out of which maybe 0.01%, 0.001% will become students of yoga. Study yoga, learn yoga, hear about yoga, talk about yoga. Don't be practical minded. Is it useful for me? As subject we must pursue. And this is an important landmark. It was not a consumer commodity that we took sessions on Yoga Sutras. So as an institution, we have to do it. Because it is Yoga Institute. For Indians, I might say it should not become something like AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Science, very little research and lots of hospital services. So we should be institute. Okay? So hope I put across what I meant to put across. Namaskar.
For a few releases. You'll give it to him? This year we are introducing a kurta instead of a t-shirt. And there's one for the men and for the ladies. This is the men's kurta. Check the logo on the back. No, this is the men's. A colorful one for the ladies.
Logo behind.
And we have the magazine.
The usual yoga
Yoga Rahasya.
on a very important occasion.
It has the logo, it has the picture of the institute. Thank you, sir.
Like for all of you here, like for so many of them who are not here, for me also, this institute is a very special place. It's been the kshetra, the field, which has been a pillar, which continues to be a pillar for all of us. Our emotion for Ramamani Iyengar Memorial Yoga Institute is very strong on all days. But the annual day is a chance for all of us to verbalize this, to express this, and to do this together. We deem ourselves extremely fortunate to be associated with this place. And as she said, I thank, of course, Guruji, Geetaji, Prashantji for making this happen. So, Mama, for some of us who have been classmates, who've been coming to the classes here for 10, 15 years now, sometimes we sit and chat about the good old days, about our learnings in the classes, about how we learned so much and how much fun it was. This, of course, also makes me wonder with apprehension if we are no longer in the prime age group, because youngsters seldom, get nostalgic about the past. The youngsters are excited about the future, but a lot of me and my classmates in these classes, we sit and talk about the past. But I think as we flag off the 50th year of the Institute, it's significant that we do a time travel, step back, and revisit the learnings that have happened over the years. I have some of my friends today who are going to enact a few episodes from the classes of the past, and I'm going to ask Mama questions. Mrinal? So it was a standing poses class. We were asked to go up to full arm balance first, and then there was a lot of twisting going on, and then we were asked to do Parivrtta Parshva Konasana. And it was a morning class, so you can imagine the body is still stiff, and we were struggling to get into Parivrtta Parshva Konasana. So he also had us go at the horse. We went to the grills, we went to the walls, and we had to twist and turn and get the rotation. And at that point, he remarked, breathe through your nose, not your mouth. Otherwise, I have to get PUC done. And it's the emission control test, pollution control. So breathe through your nose, otherwise I have to get that test done. Mrinal, you can do on the other side. So as we were there in this Parivrtta Parshva Konasana, and we were struggling there, and then he asked us to come out, and he said, all the armchair yogis will ask you to have a calm mind in any situation that life poses. It is only through the asanas, he said, that you can learn the technology of what is a calm mind. So we want to hear more about this from you, Mama. So can you open that out a little when you meant this is the field, this is the lab in which we can learn the technology of what is a calm mind and a neutral mind.
Yeah, relax. See, it is very objective to advise somebody to have peace of mind. But the dynamics of life are such that you have different conditions in life. claimant to very, very, very claimant to inclaimant to very, very, very inclaimant. Suitable to very, very suitable to unsuitable to very, very unsuitable. Very much expected, very much not expected, unexpected, very unexpected. So many aspects are there in the dynamics of life. So an objective instruction that be at peace doesn't really work. So in life, dynamics of life, we have likes and dislikes which come our ways. Sometimes the things which you like, they come our way. Sometimes the things we dislike, they don't come our way. They do come our way. Likes don't come our way, dislikes come our way. So similarly, suitable, unsuitable, cherished, uncherished, loathful to lovable, all these things come in life and we have to counter them with one mind, which is E1 mind, which is peaceful mind. So therefore, asanas have a wonderful opportunity. It creates a virtual condition for us. So most of you know, Parivritta Parshakonasana is not gulab jam rasgulla for you. So it's not delightful, delectable asana for you. So you know you have to face a torment. You will have to face a torment, you will have to face resistance. Something is yielding, something is not yielding. This is how the dynamics of life are. That something yields and something doesn't yield. So in asanas, you create virtual so many creations. Back leg more often doesn't behave. Front leg doesn't behave. So there is misbehavior which you face in society, and you cannot have a equilibrium mind, equal mind, even mind, with assorted conditions around you, assorted people around you. So here in asanas, you have body system, breath system, mind system. So something doesn't yield. Now here we try to internally go for certain reconciliation. So suppose this part is not behaving, you exhale with reference to this, you inhale with reference to this, bring your mind, converge your mind, breath onto that part. If any part is not behaving, you have to bring the body, mind, breath combinations, and then it slowly starts yielding. The inclemencies will slowly fade out. So after a while, if I keep you in the class, sometimes it happens, you know that you have pain in the knee, pain in the hip joint, pain in different parts of the body. So how will you mitigate the pain? Now come up. So you will have, see, you will create pains. Yoga is not a party. A session of yoga is not a party that every delightful object, delectable object comes your way and you go on munching, eating, swallowing, ingesting, and wonderful condition. Enjoying the party. So within ourselves, we have enormous community within you. So some part of community is resisting, some community is not resisting, something is yielding, something is not yielding, something is revolting. So all these conditions can be faced in different asanas. Don't say something is easy and something is difficult. This is too naive and very gross. That is this asana, this is easy, this is difficult. Apart from easy and difficult, there is something that palatable and not palatable. Tormenting, vexing, harassing, revolting, all kinds of those things are there, while on the other side, something is yielding, something is behaving, something is obedient to what you say, and something is not in obedience. So within ourselves, we face a community which is all our community. Suppose you don't like neighbor, you can shun your neighbor. But what will you do that within your family, you have a person whom you don't like. We treat that person differently because it's our sibling or it is our family, parents, children, grandchildren, etc. You may not like everyone. So outside in the community we react, but within a family we reconcile. So in asanas, there are conditions which are problematic. So we try to, that's why yoga is a skill. So how will we try to coordinate the body, mind, breath forces? It is not physical positioning, although you hear physical techniques, front leg this way, rotate here, harden here, tighten here, pull here, push here, harden, tighten, concave, convex, widen, narrow. You think it's all very, very, very physical. But what you handle is organic. The body, mind, breath combinations, so slowly over a period of time, you will start creating order, orderliness. And that's the skill. So we have internal community, enormous, huge community. So she will be able to address this part exhalatively in one way, inhalatively in another way. Now, you are all just looking, don't look. You have to infer, because you are all practitioners. So try to infer. If I say exhale and address your buttock here, you will not see. You will have to infer. You will have to deduce, or you have to imagine. I say open your chest. You don't see it. So you'll have to infer. So how she is handling all these contrary forces within the internal community. So we have to create, social order within. And asanas have wonderful condition to create that social order, that discord, because it has a magic of creating concord. So that's how we use the forces. Now, as she said, armchair philosophers, they just give you a sermon that you must have even mind, equal mind, peaceful mind, quiet mind, unagitated mind. It's okay to give a sermon. But in practicality of life, it is not possible. The family institution is such. Imagine mismatch mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. They have to put up. It is a family. So how will they reconcile? So if the neighbor is like your mother-in-law, you can say, I will not see your face. Please don't show your face. But within the family, we learn the reconciliation. That is what the family is. That is what we have to learn in family. They might be antagonizing. Anybody might be antagonizing. Anybody may be like alien. But being a family member, we have to handle them differently. Suppose you don't like me. I am a Tom, Dick, Harry, third person for you. You can decide how to interact with me. But suppose I am your brother. So suppose I am your relative. Suppose I am your father. Suppose I am your son. Are you going to objectively decide this is a person like this, I should take that? Anybody else, I would have treated like this. But being a family member, we'll have to treat differently. Now we deal with the family within us, enormous family. Today's people will not have this concept of family. Family means what? Husband, wife, children, or child, that's all. That's not the family. Family, extended family is there. So we have so many, all kinds of relations. In your asana, you will have mother-in-law on one hand, mother on the other hand. So you are comfortable with the mother, you are not comfortable with the mother-in-law. You are comfortable with the father, you are not comfortable with the father-in-law. So you will be having all those things, and therefore you create all virtual realities of life in asanas, and therefore you develop the skill, knack, to really accommodate all those conditions. Painful to painless, happy, delightful to agonizing. So we have to manage all those within us. And then try to even all that and have equilibrium. Come up. So, in asanas, imagine, there are many asanas some of you don't like.
That we don't have to imagine.
But in a class situation, you do it. Some of the asanas are very much of your liking. But many times, 3-4 classes pass and the asana is not taken. Some of the asanas are difficult. Some of the asanas are easy. So we have different mindsets to all these polarities. Likes, dislikes, loath, love. Difficult, easy. And we have to counter all those in the positions of asanas. In some asanas, hands are difficult. Some asanas, legs are difficult. Some asanas, the trunk is difficult. In some asanas, the mind is difficult. In some asanas, mind is easy. So much easy that Shavasana means many of you go to snoring. It is so comfortable that you end up in snoring. So in asanas, figure out, we create virtually all conditions in life. Let me tell you a little personal thing. Many of them have complained. Prashant is unmarried. He doesn't understand problems of life and family. I have a huge family within myself. I handle that family, 300 trillion cells. You have only one husband, one wife, or one child. You have to only handle those 3 people or 2 people. So virtually all creations, conditions of life, whether it is zone of likes and zone of dislikes, zone of love and zone of loath, so zone of possibility or zone of impossibility, we try to handle all that. So in asanas, you will identify something is good, something is not good, something you like, something you don't relish. Something is difficult, something is not difficult. Something is easy, something is not easy. So assorted conditions are confronted in asanas, and it's a field to really put up with all those conditions. So if you want to have good social personality, learn to develop it at home. Don't go out and develop your social face. Put up with all kinds of people, and unfortunately we don't have such families today. There are 2 or 3 members, nuclear families. Imagine the time of joint family system. So we have joint family, enormous family, huge family circles. So I manage huge family, you just manage one nuclear family. Anyway,
Yes.
okay, enough?
Yes, thank you, sir. We go to the next episode now. Wait, Raya, you come first. Trikonasana. Suck your outer hip. Your outer ankle has to go deep into the body. Outer hip, outer thigh. It has to become a black hole. I don't remember all the numbers, like he does, of all the red giants and the dwarfs. So I just stick with a black hole. Make that ankle, right outer ankle, a black hole. The right hip has to become a black hole. Similarly, your left knee. Can you make all your joints the black holes and absorb everything into that? Okay, this went on in many standing poses. And then, now come up. Go for Shirishasana. Meghna. Urdhvastasana, here. Urdhvastasana, face me, turn around. Go on the mat. Urdhvastasana, arms up. Go down to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Direct flight to Adho Mukha Svanasana. There should be no stopover. Again, Urdhvastasana, no stopover. Quick, primage, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Faster, faster. Your hips, imagine God hasn't given you feet, and your hips have to jump into the pose. Now come to Utkatasana. Stand up, bend your knees in Utkatasana, arms straight.
Let me tell you about Iyengar culture here. Now, when you are going to Adho Mukha Svanasana, the moment palms touch the floor, the same moment feet should be off. The moment feet touch here, palms should be off.
Now stop over. Utkatasana, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Jump back into Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, land into Utkatasana. So Adho Mukha, you continue. Adho Mukha to Utkatasana a few times, Urdhva Mukha to Utkatasana a few times, Chaturanga Dandasana to Utkatasana a few times. This went on quite a few times, okay? Mama was also much closer to prime age. We were really in our prime age. So the dynamics of that was very different. And now, Meghna, come for Shirshasana. Now, would that Shirshasana and this Shirshasana be the same? No. Okay, so what preceded his concretization of the joints and what preceded her fluidity, what was fluidity, and this Shirshasana is completely different. So, Mama, what exactly is happening here? It's the same asana.
Yeah. We have physical dimension of asanas. There are chemical dimensions to it. So, chemically, she went for such a turbulence, shuffling and reshuffling the chemical aspects, jumping back and forth from upright position to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana and Utkatasana. So, the chemical shuffling was taking place enormously. So the chemical profile became very, very, very vibrant. And then she went to a settled position of Shirshasana. Whereas here, he went from static position, going for the hardening aspects primarily, and then came to Shirshasana. So his orientation was one, and her orientation was another. So for you, both are in Shirshasana. But chemically, this Shirshasana is one kind, and that Shirshasana is another kind. And that's why, understand, these asanas are chemical profiles, chemical processes. Now suppose he does Urdhva Dandasana, touching the toes to the floor, and go up 10 times.
Mama, can you come here?
Successively. 10 times as fast as he can. So this will turn out kinetism in him. This will turn out kinetism, this will turn out electricity, and then stay in Shirshasana. This is going to be different Shirshasana. Because complete shuffling in the chemical profile. The Vayus were moving enormously for the positions, these faster positions. This is the Vayu is mobilizing, Vayu is mobilized, then it comes to static. So it's totally different. Chemically, look at these positions. These are chemical processes, chemical profiles, and that's why it works for making the life. So sooner or later, he will go for E1 mind. Sooner or later, she will go for E1 mind. Where was the starting point for him? Which was the starting for him? Destination is one and the same. So my destination is in New York, but somebody comes from Sydney to New York. I go from Mumbai to New York. Big difference. Somebody comes from Tokyo to New York. Big difference. It's not just where you are reaching. The destination is now E1 mind, steady mind of Shirshasana. But then he came from, if he came from Sydney, she came from Tokyo. And therefore, the whole experience is different. And therefore, we can go for our becoming. Just doing Shirshasana doesn't work for your becoming. Shirshasana preceded by intense forward bends, Shirshasana preceded by intense backward bends, Shirshasana preceded by Vayu work, a lot of Vayu work. Shirshasana is going to be different profile. Now this is not for you to cite. There will be no difference in this Shirshasana. Maybe one is better, one is not so better. That's all. But there is a big difference chemically from where he came and from where she came. So the example, reaching New York from Tokyo, reaching New York from Sydney, reaching New York from Durban, big difference. So these are chemical processes. You have to experience, you have to infer, you have to extrapolate, you have to imagine. Don't just, when we say look, don't just look, try to infer. try to deduce, try to have imaginations. Imagine she was like a horse. And from horse, she went to Shirshasana. Whereas he was like a Gibraltar rock, and from there he went to Shirshasana. So totally different journeys. Come down. Is that enough?
I'm sure we all understand this. Coming to the class, because a lot of us now ask for morning classes, they want to shift from evening to morning with traffic conditions. So this is experiential on the social fabric also. Uttanasan, you come down. Uttanasan. So it was a class of Uttanasan. There was Prasarita Padottanasana, there was Parshvottanasana preceding that. A few of us were made to sit for twisting, so the class was divided into batches. So some of us were asked to release the trunk for Uttanasana. Some of us were asked to prepare the legs to come into Uttanasana. Raya, can you go to the wall? Is there a wall there? Yes. Back to the wall, Uttanasana. So he had us take a sticky mat to the back, and we went into the wall for our Uttanasana there. And then there was Uttanasana went on for about 60, 70, 80 minutes like this. And then he made us sit down, finally. And then he asked us, how many of you have tried to be in Uttanasana for 10 minutes? Why is it that for you, Uttanasana is always a break pose? You're tired from standing poses, you want to do Uttanasana. You're tired from jumpings, you want to do Uttanasana. You come down from Shirshasana, you want to do Uttanasana. Why is Uttanasana always given a second grade treatment? How many of you have tried to go up to Uttanasana for up to 10, 15 minutes? How many of you here? Yeah, the same number, 10, 15 years ago. Even though he had said this in the past. So, Mama, how do you get from 10 seconds to 10 minutes?
See, if you just decide to stay, it can be monotonous. Or you come across a state, everything done, nothing more to do, then what's the point in continuing? If you have done all that you wanted to do and you come to a point called satiety point, then you come out and you want to do some other asana. Because you think asanas are to be done, and it's doing in asanas. It's not doing in asanas. It is yogasana, it's not a posture. So you have so much to observe. Observe the interaction of your breath and body and breath. How do they interact? Interaction of the breath and mind and breath. How do they interact? With what consequence, what result, what effect? So the asanas are something for you to watch and not do. Merely do. Asanas create academy. You have got so many things to learn. Learn about the spine, learn from the spine, learn about the chest, learn from the chest, learn from the belly, learn about the belly, learn from the buttocks and hips and legs, learn from them, learn about the breath, learning from the breath, learn about the mind, learning from the mind, because they are in composite dynamics. Here, they are all working in tandem, they are working in a coordination, so we have to develop this understanding that we have to observe so many things. So this should become observatory. In observatory, do you do or do you observe? In laboratory, do you do or do you experiment? In academy, what do you do or do you learn? So your embodiment becomes academy. There is so much to learn, get educated. There is so much to observe, and there is so much to experiment. So that's how you have to have your pursuit. It's not doing Uttanasana 10 minutes with a chronometer. Many people have the chronometer in 10 minutes, and the end result is pride. I did 15 minutes. I did half an hour Uttanasana. Come up. Suppose you do half an hour Uttanasana, what will the end result anything other than satisfaction, satiety, complacency, and pride, arrogance. Nobody can do, I have done it. Nobody thinks about it, I have done it.
But nobody here has done it. No, no arm came up. So if you can tell us how to get to that state.
No, somebody did.
Okay, yeah, I saw.
It is possible that somebody will do. May they are not done, but they will do it. Don't just do it. You can keep a chronometer, timer, 10 minutes timer, 15 minutes timer, and stay in Uttanasana and take the mind all over the world. Excursion around the world. Excursion around the business of life. What will I do in the evening? What will I eat for breakfast? What will be the lunch today? We can do so many things. So, observation, it's an observatory, it's an academy. Now, how to go is start understanding the role of, it's not just doing, sensitivity, awareness. So when you develop sensitivity, awareness, you have field to try out so many things. Let me exhale and stretch the legs. Let me inhale and stretch the legs. Let me exaltedly exhale and stretch the legs. Let me exaltedly inhale and stretch the legs. Let me exhale voluminously and stretch the legs. Let me inhale voluminously, stretch the legs. You will identify resistances. You will identify cooperation. Somewhere, lack of cooperation. Somewhere, resistance. Somewhere, revolt. So there are so many things to observe. So, understand, in an asana, you have to open out the portal of scope to sensitivity. I am able to sense something more. It's not just doing and ending. If you are observing, it will encourage you to stay there longer. Suppose I go to observatory, and I am novice about it, looking through telescopes, and just go on watching 360 degrees. But suppose somebody is next to me, he is astronomer, he tells me, this is this star, this is this planet. I will like to stay more time in the observatory. So the sensitivity, awareness, and education will give you knowledge about it, and it will open out your scope to do something longer. So from 10 seconds, you might go to 20 seconds. If 20 seconds is too much, you will come up and again go down second time and continue your observations. So don't go for 10, 15 seconds Uttanasana to straight away 15 minutes of Uttanasana. So let's start slowly munching gradually, not gobbling. I was doing 15 seconds, let me try 15 minutes. So slowly get the scope, encouragement. Yes, there is much to stay. If not at a stretch, take a little break and again do it. So it's an Uttanasana, it's not a posture. You have to observe the breath system, observe the mind system, observe the body system, understand their interactions. So open out your vision for position internally. So you have much to observe. If I come to know, I go to a place and there is much to see, I will like to stay 2 days or 3 days more, I will postpone my ticket to go back. If I find that this is a location where much to see, I will postpone my return journey. So if you start observing, you will postpone your return journey to come up. If you are just doing, you will do until you are not exhausted. And once you are exhausted, you come up. So there are interactions going on, inter-responses, inter-participations, composite actions, community activity. It's a community activity. So you have so much to observe, try out, experiment, and experience, and therefore you will slowly be inclined to stay a little longer or do more number of times. So that will open out your vision for doing asanas. So don't think of buying a chronometer tomorrow, the timer. I do every day, every time less than a minute, let me keep a timer, 3 minutes of Uttanasana. You have to create condition that you will like to stay. You will prefer to stay. You are motivated to stay. You are inclined to stay. You are enticed to stay. And that is by your observations. If you look at physical posture, no posture is good for you to... See, if I put you in difficult contortion, Buddhasana, etc., it is such a contortion that you will not like to stay there. But in asanas, which is not a difficult contortion, open out your observatory. Open out your laboratory. Go into the laboratory. Go into observatory and try to find out what is there to observe. So you will be organically motivated to stay longer. Don't stay longer with a resolute last. I have resolved to stay today 10 minutes in Uttanasana. Don't do that. That's an atrocity. That's not yoga. Basically, observatory, laboratory, academy. Field for experience. Develop fascination to those things. You know, no ant or cow says, take me for world excursion. No elephant, cattle or ant says, give me an excursion ticket, I want to go around the world. They have nothing appealing because the ant will only go after sugar. Wherever it is available, it will eat it. It doesn't want to see Eiffel Tower, it doesn't want to see whatever, Taj Mahal. Cattle don't want that. Human beings have so much to see in the world. So we have so much to see in the universe which is within ourselves. So see, understand this as a universe. What can I sight? Where can I go? So give importance to experience. If you are watching the breath, what is the experience? If you are watching the body, what is the experience? If you are watching the mind, what is the experience? These are different experiences in different locations. So asanas are iconographic positions. They are not postures. They are positions. Tadasana kar rahi tha, Urdhastasana. What is the pelvic region? Urdhastasana. What is the pelvic breathing? The pelvic region as part of body, pelvic region as a breathing locus, pelvic region as a mind awareness locus. What is the pelvis? So if I say spacing, 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 what will you do for spacing there? Now I say Uttanasana. Again I say spacing, spacing, spacing. It is different experience. The about the pelvis location, Paratvarya. It is one experience in Urdhastasana, another experience in Uttanasana, another experience in Adho Mukha Virasana. There also I will say spacing, spacing, space out. Aap haath pudenge. So extend the pelvis, Urdhastasana, extend the pelvis, Uttanasana, extend the pelvis, Adho Mukha Virasana. Proposition seems to be one and the same, but the process is totally different. Experience is totally different. If you create space here, it is one experience. If you create the same space, Urdhastasana, another experience. If you create the same space, Uttanasana, another experience. So you take a child to garden. It is fascinating for child. It doesn't want to come back. You want to come back. And the child doesn't want to come back. Create such a condition that you don't want to come back. If you come back again, you have to revisit because inability will prevent you from staying. So after a while, you will say, I should come up. Okay, come up. Again, do it. Without much lapse of time, do it once again. You will explore more and more. So start looking at asanas, something to explore, something to discover, something to experiment, something to try, something to know. Then you are motivated to stay there. Don't become slaves of time. That you become, with a chronometer, it becomes the master, you become the slave. You have to wait until it beeps. There is no beep, you have to stay. Many times you stay and you blame the timer why it is not beeping. No, don't be slaves. That's why I said many times Guruji was not using timer. For many of you, it was irrational for him to use stopwatch. When the timers are available and all his followers, they say it's a chronometer, we'll have a chronometer. What is it? Timer. So it is developing ego. In stopwatch, Guruji was watching process. If stretch of the leg in Uttanasana today, how long it is taking? If it is taking 8-10 minutes to reach satisfactory point, on another day, it might take 12 minutes. Do your Uttanasana at 4 o'clock in the morning, get up. Get up at 4 o'clock, do your Uttanasana and find out how long it takes for you to reach your satisfactory Uttanasana. Do that in the evening, it will come quicker. So he was using stopwatch for all those years, never opted for timers. Okay?
Yeah, here I would like to ask you, Mama, if you can differentiate for us positive ego and ego which has the unyogic facet to it. I'll give you a background to this. So there was another day where it was Vipreet going on. It was independent Vipreet. He had us go to the wall. The feet were up on the wall. One round was feet up, and then it was hands against the wall. So there were a lot of varieties of Vipreet that was going on. There was a batch which was on the chair also. In independent Vipreet he made us stay there. Okay? Lift your hips, bent legs, lift your buttocks, lift your shoulders, raise the sides of the trunk up, lift. And then there were people who wanted to come down. And he said, Manala वाटेल तसं करता, मन म्हणते या म्हणजे क्लासला येता, मन म्हणते जा खाली म्हणजे खाली जाता. So as and how you want, you do. Your mind says, oh, come down, and you immediately come down. Your mind says, today I want to go to yoga class, you want to come to the yoga class. Your mind says on your bed, let's not go today, you don't go today. Why are you such slaves of your mind? Why do you listen to your mind so much? And then when we were in Vipreet, he had us stay there for a little longer, and in his typical dramatic style, he raised his volume, and he said, stay there, and then suddenly the whole class was in Vipreet, and then he made us come down. And then, when we were down, he said, we did a few rounds of that, and then he asked us, how much did your ego contribute? So we didn't have an answer because all of us in the class, we all were in agreement that none of us was egoistic. So we all just sat there because we couldn't, go against what he was saying. But then he asked, how much did my volume contribute? Okay, when he raised his volume up, how much did my volume contribute and how much did your ego contribute? If you were doing this Vipreet alone in your house, would you have stayed for so long? And then the answer was unanimous for all of us, it was no. So Mama, we are confused about how to discern the difference between what is this positive ego which is needed to get things done and when it becomes a klesha where it, becomes pride and vanity. Come down.
See, sorry to make a bold statement here. I have said many times, class is not the place to learn yoga. Class is only place for you to learn what to learn. And back home, we have to learn. What happens in class situation, you start working under the gravity of the teachers. Suppose the teacher is commanding, demanding, very strong, intolerant about your lack of attempts and lack of intent. So you start working under the gravity of the teachers. So sometimes there is a very strong teacher. He is a very strong teacher. What is that strong teacher? That means you import gravities and you are taking support of foreign gravity for you to do better. Because most of us have this experience. In class, we do our postures better. Back home, we don't do so well. Back home, our postures are depreciated by 80%, 70%, 60%. And here there is 30% depreciation when you are in the class. Because the gravities are working, there are people around you, so you have that kind of boost because of the social community reference. There is a society of people around you, so you don't want somebody to say, oh, what a bad pose, ugly pose, unsightful pose. No, you don't want somebody to say, or you don't want the anger from the teacher to come on you. What are you doing? So, when you work on your own, you work with your natural potencies, natural culture, natural power. If you want to improve your culture, you should improve your natural culture, not artificial culture. You can improve your artificial culture by your social awareness, but that is not going to improve you. Natural material should be improved. What is our natural material? So when you start working on your own, you can take this. I don't get the gravities, I don't get the radiations which boost my motivations, whereby I do better. Now, back home, they are all not available, but yet you will work on essential matter of you. So what happens here, if you are done well, if you are done better than anyone you are the best in the class, ego gets pumped up in the brain. It is because we think these are postures. You want to do the postures better in a class. You don't want to make your mind better in a class. That's why many times your mind is like a vampire and you are giving a wonderful photogenic pose which can be going on a wall, a blown up photograph, 1.5 times the life size, and it can be put on the wall. So when body, mind, breath are working in coordination, the ego will not come. Now this is Viparit Dandasana, not a posture. Literally it means Viparita Danda. Viparita Danda means salutation. Danda means salutations. Sashtanga Dandavat. So it is a prostration. It's a prostration. Now you can't be prostrating with ego in you. You can't say, I am prostrating, please look at me, accept my prostrations. You are humble. So this is reverse prostration. So you have to understand what is the culture of, because this is very good to boost your ego, because it works on your pineal pituitary master glands. It works on your ego faculty. If your legs are done well, ego gets the credit. Buttocks are done well, ego gets the credit. Chest done well, ego gets the credit. Back done well, ego gets the credit. Now, if so many credits are coming, and no credit goes to other tools such as breath and mind, but just the body. So the body-based ego is on one aspect. So that can be getting enhanced in postural yoga. There is mind-based ego, intellect-based ego. So they all have different fields, and we develop different facets of ego in our worldly life. If I am very intelligent, then my ego is boosted because I am intelligent. If I have got very good mind, my ego is boosted by that. But when they work in community culture, there is no ego coming up. Understand the very concept of community culture. You can't be egoistic and participating. You will be driven away. You will be rejected. You will say, go home. Community culture. So this is reverse prostration. Chemically, what should be your profile? For that profile, see that the breath is watched, breath is watching, breath is doing, breath is done, breath is receiving, breath is dispensing, breath is addressed, breath is addressing. Because, go down. Breath is an aspect in you which is not sustained by ego. It is not nourished by ego. While the body matter, mind matter, is nurtured, nourished by ego. So if you are complimented for what you do, you feel elated, and the ego makes you do more and better. But the breath is doing thankless job. 24/7. You don't at the night say, thank you breathing, you kept me working throughout the day, thank you, and then go to sleep. You take it for granted. It is not expecting thanks from you. It is an agency which works totally selflessly. Body never works selflessly. Mind doesn't work selflessly easily. In asanas particularly. So they will have motives. They will have motivations. They will have ulterior motives. They will have goals. When you accomplish the goal, naturally you will have some ego shooting up. But the breath is such an entity. That's why yoga should be done in association with the breath. Say, come up, Raya. Now there can be a person, I'm not referring to Raya, any person, he might be egoistic person. But suppose Guruji is next to him. What happens to his ego? Gets deflated. Gets deflated. So the breath is such an entity within. So see that everything is confronting breath, and breath is confronting all that. Ego will be sublimated. Ego will be mitigated, nullified, sublimated. So in asanas, we have to see how it is not manuring, nourishing ego. It will not happen in posture. Posture, definitely you will get ego. Ego is both inferiority complex, superiority complex. That's ego problem. If you don't get asana at all, do you say, I'm very happy, I tried 25 years, I didn't get it. I'm sad, I didn't get it. So then that is a depression, which is ego problem. Ego is not just ego as we literally understand. Ego works both the ways. It gives you inferiority complex, therefore all the springs removed in life are pumping up ego, and therefore you do everything better. So these are all ego problems. Inferiority complex, superiority complex, they are complex. Yoga tells you don't enter into the complex zone, be in neutral zone. And the breath is that entity. Which will not at all manure or nurture, nourish ego culture. Associated breath is a marvel. Because otherwise, unless Guruji is there, you don't become humble. Because you don't trace Guruji within you, you have Guruji within you in associated body, mind, breath. So they will give you the ethos. In particular ethos, you can never develop ego. You might be Hercules, conquer the whole world, yet you will not be egoistic. Why? Because that revered entity is extending gravity onto you. So the associated condition, ethos of yoga, is the guru in you. And that will never allow your ego to be nourished, nurtured. So ego culture will not come. Ego means, don't say only pride, arrogance. Even depleted condition, inferiority complex is ego problem. I'm no good, I'm absolutely bad, I'm stupid. Nobody says I'm stupid, therefore I'm happy. You are sorrowed if you are stupid. If you are intelligent, you are happy. If you are stupid, you are not happy. So be in association with an entity within you which will keep you under radiation. Therefore, you have that ethos of yoga engulfing your entire endeavor, effort, and therefore you will not get those problems. Okay?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Any supplementary question? Please shoot.
I have a question about from Light on Yoga. Often in classes, Prashantji tells us that Light on Yoga, for all of you who are practitioners, there is more to it than what you just read in Light on Yoga. In fact, Guruji himself had said in his 90s that if I were to write light on yoga today, I would write it very differently. So yes, we get the background with which Prashantji is saying this, but still, we have not fully understood light on yoga. In light on yoga at the back, the three of you come up. There is this section of what you can do for certain troubles, certain problems. So under hamstrings, so how many of you here identify as those who have troubles in hamstring? Stiff hamstring, not very happy with your hamstring, inferiority complex about your hamstrings. That's all. Don't worry, I'm not going to call you on stage like last time. So, you know about Supta Padangusthasana. Lie down on your back and take your leg up. You can go for Utthita Padangusthasana. One leg up.
One leg up.
Can you go for Paschimottanasana, Raya? You belt ahe kaga? Raya Paschimottanasana. Okay? So these asanas are listed as being good for hamstrings. Now evidently, because they are stretching the hamstrings. There is also Hanumanasana. So yes, it makes sense that the hamstrings are stretched. And we've been told by Prashant sir so many times that all of you are stretch fanatics. And there is evidence to that, because in the topic of hamstrings in light on yoga, there is also Ushtrasana. Come up. There is Urdhva Dhanurasana, Urdhva Mukha. There is also Mandalasana. Come, move back, Meghana. Okay? So there are these asanas also which are listed as being solution for hamstring troubles. Now these are contracting the hamstrings. We understood the Supta Padangusthasana, Utthita Padangusthasana, which were ekach bazu. Okay? Which were extensions, but it doesn't make sense to us as to why these contractions are a part of hamstring treatment. So can you please help us understand that?
Why only hamstrings? For physical body power and strength, stretches don't give you the power, do not need the power. It is contractions which need the power. The nerve conduction test in pathology is done by measuring the muscle contractions. So when you were children, you could contract your fist tight. Ask your great-grandmother or grandmother, grandfather to tighten the fist. You will be able to open it out. To be contracting firm and fast, you need power. Muscle power is not by extension. Extension has a different purpose and it plays that role there, but it doesn't give you power of the muscle or soft tissue. Now hamstring is a soft tissue, it's a muscle. Now the muscle is to be developed by not only extension, but also contractions. You know, elastic. What is characteristic signature condition of elastic? You can stretch it. But if you keep all the time stretched, what will happen to elastic after a while? So its signature condition, it stretches. And therefore, it just keep it stretched all the time, 24 hours, 2-3 days, 5-6 days. It loses the tone. The elastic loses the tone because elastic should also be able to contract. Non-contracting elastic is not elastic. You only see that extension worthiness is elastic, but it is able to come back. So if we are working for physical body power, the motor nerve power, the contractions are more important. So in whichever positions you can go for exalted contractions, try to contract them more and more and more. And then you can go for extensions. You know, usually about hamstring, we only speak about hamstring extension. We don't speak about hamstring contraction. As I said about elastic, it should be contractable as well as extendable. If the elastic is not contracting, is it elastic? After extension, the extended condition is given up, it must contract. So if you take 3 inches elastic, fix it at one place and you pull it and leave it, it will become smaller than its natural size, 3 inches, and then it will come to 3 inches. So this fanaticism for extension of hamstring, stretching of hamstring is obsession. Wherever possible, in Shirshasana, you will try to contract. So in Shirshasana, you try to create contraction at the bottoms of the buttocks. Buttocks are contracted, bottoms of the buttocks are contracted. What is happening to a hamstring? Now if it goes to Ekapada Shirshasana, that hamstring will extend. But this hamstring you don't attend to, it should contract. That's why this leg is displaced. It won't happen to Guruji. Come up, come up. So wherever his top leg is, it will stay in the same level, same degree of perpendicularity and tone, and then he mobilizes his leg. You forget this and you work on that. You forget that, you work on that. So contraction and extension going simultaneously. This hamstring contracted and that extended. So we will have to work, and contraction in our postures, because they are body referred, we must be able to contract. Secondly, the physics of extension. Now, if he has to extend the hamstring and back of the thigh, he has to contract the quadricep correspondingly. Not contracting quadricep, he cannot extend hamstring. So the contraction is part of extension. Contraction is integral to extensions. So when you come down, danda bicep dako. So just, yeah, flex. He flexes. Now this becomes contracted, but you don't watch this is getting extended. So this extension is for the contraction. So the triceps extend, then only bicep contract. The more triceps are able to extend, the more contraction will come on the bicep. So contraction and extension, as they seem in counter positions, they are not in counter positions. There is something which is undergoing contraction for extension. Come up. So they are literally they are opposites. But with even elastic, you stretch the elastic, what is contracting? Width is contracting. When you stretch your elastic 2 times or 3 times, the width lessens by 80%, 70%, 60%. If it doesn't become, it won't extend. So you only get carried away by the extension aspect of elastic, how much it stretched, 3 times, 4 times. But you don't try to understand it has contracted. A thick elastic will become thin elastic when you extend. A wide elastic becomes narrow elastic when you extend. So even in physics, biophysics particularly, extension and contraction go together. There are 2 sides of the same coin. You can't have a coin only having head, no tail, only having tail, no head. Head and tail literally opposite. But they remain together. So to extend the quadricep, find out where should you contract so that it facilitates your extension of the quadricep. Hanumanasana, you say hamstring extend. What happens to the quadricep? They contract. They must contract. So they have to contract. So understand the physics of it. Contraction, extension are literally opposite at counter positions, but they are integrated. No extension, no contraction. No contraction, no extension. Okay?
Yes. One of the very popular questions from all of them is about supine poses. We know that supine poses are an integral part of our system. They are important. They need to be done. But like he himself mentioned, Shavasana, you start snoring. In Supta Baddha Konasana and Supta Virasana, why is it that these asanas, which are meant to be restful, actually makes the mind very restless? Because once we are in a supine position, the mind is most restless.
What is the meaning of restless mind? That means the mind is wandering where you don't want the mind to go. That is restlessness. It is not just not restful. Not restful is not restless. Restless means it is wandering in the zones which you don't want the mind to go. Now, because you don't have focal points, the mind rambles here and there. Now, if she is in Supta Virasana, her mind can go back home. Her mind can go 10,000 miles. But if she has a focal point, if she understands in Supta Virasana, it's not just a posture. That's why I've been telling you it's a posture, it is a breathesture, it is a mindesture. So what is it that I can observe? So suppose she is observing pelvic breathing, pelvic responses, pelvic participation, pelvic partaking, parting with, etc. Her mind will not go home. So she will not become restless. Mind will not go to shopping mall. So she will not be restless. Mind going elsewhere from the where it should be stationary, it goes elsewhere, that is restlessness. So create points or positions in you that you have something to be engaged with. Engage with the back and breathing. Engage with the back and mind. Engage with the chest and breathing. Engage with the chest and mind. Engage with the brain and mind. Engage with the brain and breath. So when you have engagements inside, you will be not escaping that, and the mind will not go to all untoward places and conditions, because nobody says, I felt very fine because my mind was restless. It went helter-skelter. You don't like the mind to be going all those places where you don't want. If the mind goes to place you want, if I say, take your mind to Vaishali, she will feel fine. Menu card, Uttappa, Sambar, Vada Sambar, Idli Sambar, Medu Vada. If the mind goes where it has a relish, it is not a restlessness. Why it is restless? Because it goes where you don't want it to go. Then you say it is restless mind. So you can overcome that, provided you have some focal points. I have something to observe. I should be observed. I should be observing. I should be observer. Then the mind will not escape. It will not go helter-skelter. Therefore, the mind won't ramble. You just stay in Supta Virasana. Maybe you will be looking at your mobile. Go to some YouTube. Watch some site here and there. Now, if that is site which is appealing, you will not complain about restlessness. But it is disturbing your mind. Oh, mind became restless. So engage. There are so many things for mind to be engaged. So it won't be restless. It cannot become it cannot go to restlessness. Because you don't have engagement points in the body, it goes. Because you take it as a posture. My feet in place, toes in place, metatarsal in place, and my back in place, I am doing. Then once you say, I have done, your mind goes anywhere. There is nothing to do. Now, arms over the head. Watch your pelvis. Pelvis, breathing locus. Inhalative, exhalative. Examine the pelvis by the breath. Examine the breath by the pelvis. Examine the mind by pelvis. Examine the mind by the pelvis by the mind. Now take the arms down, stretched, formal. Pelvis. Is it not different? You should infer. It is different. Because outstretched arms, the pelvis is in a different activity. Arms down, pelvis is in different activity. So your mind won't ramble. You are just doing it as a posture, and therefore after a while it will ramble. I've done everything from all the 10 toes to knees and quadriceps and everything I've done. If you feel you have done, that means you are leaving the mind to go to other commitments, other engagements. Engage it inside. A profound exhalation and profound inhalation, what does it do?
A few of us have seen you actually in the hall with the weights. You know, all of those weight plates that you see near the storeroom, how many of you do the class in the first floor also? So you know the layout, no? So you've seen all those weight plates there. So he would be in Supta Virasana and all of those weight plates would be stacked on his legs. So what would you do when you had all those weights? What were you observing? What were you doing?
Yes, I would be keeping 400 to 450 pounds. All the plates available in the hall. And they will be piled up. Because it is only because of the weights, I realized that there is pulsation in the legs. The throb. They even throb the 400, 450 pounds. So that is the power of the vascular system. And when something is stable, the motion is worth studying. If nothing is stable, the motion cannot be studied. So this is a stability aggrandizer. So stability is more there. Something is more stable, so other mobilities are different. Without weight, your belly is different. With the weight, you think the weight is only thighs. Because that is more stable, your pelvis will participate, partake, respond, act differently than without weights. The chest will work differently. Brain will work differently because of weights. So the weights were giving me a stable factor, doubly stabilized or 100 times stabilized, and therefore the motion can be studied. So sometimes you say you have walked 10 kilometers. How do you walk 10 kilometers? Because the road is not moving. If the road also moves, how will you walk 10 kilometers? Tell me, when will you complete 10 kilometers? The road is walking in your direction, running in opposite direction, running in any other direction. If you are heading towards the north, you are walking towards the north, but the road is moving to eastwards, westwards or southwards. When will you reach your destination? So the motion has to be studied by stability factor. What is stable? So the weights gave me a very strong stable factor, stabilizing factor, and therefore I could watch. The movements are different. So don't think the weights are only working on thighs. They are stabilizing my lower extremities and that part, and therefore the movement is different. So for movement's sake, I was keeping weights. So if I want to travel, the road should not move. But suppose your road is like your treadmill, where the belt is moving, that meter will say you have walked 10 kilometers, but you are stationary. Meter will say you walked 10 kilometers in 2 hours, but you are stationary. And it's not walking also. You don't walk on a treadmill. But if you walk on the road is stable. And therefore you walk 10 kilometers, you reach the destination. On treadmill, you only have satisfaction, pseudo-satisfaction, I walked 10 kilometers. 10 kilometers is not important, how many calories have I burnt. Okay. In
your style, Mama, we'll have to abruptly end the meeting here. We'll have to abruptly end this session because the time is 7:30, but there are a lot more questions that all of us have. So I think we should do this more often.
Okay. Namaste. So, in your assessment, was I satisfactory? Namaskar.
Yes.
Thank you, Prashant ji. Thank you, Abhi, rest of the team. Like it was announced last time also, we are welcome for ideas from you during the 50th year. Anything that you have thought of, you can share with us that can be executed, implemented for the next annual day maybe, or during the year entirely. So by now, in the month of January, we finished a medical batch for students outside Pune who were not regular students at the institute. That is one thing that we completed this month. And we have an upcoming beginner session. So you can check out the schedule. That's something that is special for the entire year. And the kurtas are available for sale downstairs. That's a good news. I see many happy faces. The Yoga Rahasya magazine is available for sale. And we all see you tomorrow. We all meet tomorrow morning. 10 o'clock? Yes. Thank you. The program starts at 10, so be here seated earlier. Thank you.